Coming up on WFT's First at 5, a suspect faces charges from her hospital bed after a high-speed chase and crash. We're live from the scene with what police say started a chain reaction of crimes.
Plus, a face-off between Florida educators and Governor Ron DeSantis. Why they say his latest budget doesn't make teachers a priority.
And offsetting the cost of turning the lights back on after a hurricane, how soon Floridians could see the higher utility bill. First at 5 starts now.
First at 5, from the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
A high-speed chase through parts of Alachua County ended in a crash and the suspect in the hospital. This is WUFT's First at 5. I'm Bailey Korinek.
And I'm Eva Garcia. The Gainesville Police Department, Alachua County Sheriff's Office, and troopers from the Highway Patrol were all involved in taking down the suspect. The chase ended in a crash right here at the I-75 off-ramp in Williston Road. You can see the scene is clear now, but that was not the case earlier this afternoon as the intersection was shut down during the investigation. Let's get out to WFT's Hayli Balgobin live at the recently cleared scene. Hayli, you spoke with the captain about a carjacking that led to the chase.
Just 3 hours ago, half a dozen first responders surrounded this area. You can still see the rubble on the ground from the collision where a vehicle crashed into multiple other vehicles on I-75 and Williston Road. What started as a hijack turned into a car chase, which led into a car crash. Alachua County Sheriff's Office Captain Chris Sims says the suspect drove through a school zone at one point. The zone was not active at the time. Sims described an intense moment for drivers and deputies.
The tire tracks that you see here, what had happened was that she was trying to navigate the turn. As you can see, she missed that, hit this curb right here, and then that's when she struck the cab of the semi-truck, which was a FedEx semi-truck.
The suspect is in custody and has been sent to the hospital for their injuries. According to the captain, they will be charged. Live in Gainesville, Hayli Balgobin, WUFT News.
In other news, the Alachua County School Board is holding a meeting tonight in less than an hour. Book bans and education for incarcerated minors are on the agenda. The first agenda item is to clarify who can object to reading materials in schools. It will propose that only a parent of a student enrolled in a district school or a county resident for at least 1 year can challenge reading materials. Also on the agenda is a new agreement between the school board and the sheriff's office. The agreement will provide educational services to incarcerated minors who have not graduated from high school yet and eligible students with disabilities under the age of 22.
Governor Ron DeSantis has released his budget proposal, and the Florida Education Association is saying it's not enough money for teachers. WFT's Caitlyn Schiffer is live at ACPS to tell us the areas educators believe the budget falls short.
The Florida Education Association is upset with the governor's proposed budget plan, as they say it fails to improve on educational resources, including teacher salaries. As Florida ranks 50th in average teacher pay, educators want to be in the top 10. After the Florida legislature met to discuss its spending plan, Governor Ron DeSantis released his budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. The Florida Education Association teachers condemned the plan, saying it fails to make an impact on essential programs, including school safety, mental health, and transportation funding. FEA President Andrew Spar says he wants more allocated to schools.
Florida continues to rank near the bottom in the nation in funding for our schools. If we want to turn it around, what we've called on the governor to do is to allocate $1,000 more per student.
Spar says DeSantis' proposal allocates a little over $200 more per student.
It's literally taking dollars out of our underfunded neighborhood public schools.
From state to local education debates, in Alachua County, teachers met and rejected a 1.6% increase in salaries.
1.6% is so small a difference that it is frankly an insult. And we will not accept such a small difference from you anymore.
Topics that may create more contentious debate in Florida. Spar says the FEA is actively working with legislatures as the legislature is continuing to craft its proposed budget plan. Live at ACPS, Caitlyn Schiffer, WUFT News.
The heat's back on in Florida as the area is seeing temperatures well into the 80s this week. UF forecaster Matthew Clark is live in the weather studio. Matthew, this week you're talking heat and dense fog.
Yeah, it's been heat in the afternoon and then dense fog early in the morning. Look at that. We are just 1 degree shy of 80 degrees. We haven't seen 80 degrees here on our campus cam or here in Gainesville, but again, we woke up to that very dense fog. If you were out there this morning, couldn't even see the stoplight in front of you. It was pretty dense, less than 1/10 of a mile visibility. Beautiful sunny skies overlooking that campus cam right now, though. Nothing much going on satellite and live radar. Everything south is just trapped by heat. All that cold air is being stuffed up north. Look at that, a little bit of snow up in New York. But everything down south is a lot warmer and pretty stagnant air as well. That's what you've seen, a lot of fog. Temperatures, again, some places have seen 80s like Ocala, but here in Gainesville we haven't. And again, that fog is going to be coming back. I will have more on your morning and tomorrow's forecast in a few minutes.
Right now, Gainesville police need your help tracking down a robbery suspect. Late last month, investigators say the suspect went into the Dollar General on Northeast 16th Avenue. That's near Waldo Road. He was armed with a knife. Detectives say the man pictured stole the cash drawer before running off to his car and taking off. Police provided these pictures of what the Ford Taurus looks like. If you have any information about this robbery or the suspect, you are asked to call GPD. A Lake City man is facing kidnapping charges after police say he tried to collide with a car while on his bike. It happened late last week at the intersection of Northwest Ridgewood Avenue and Highway 90. The victim said Daniel Phelps was in the crosswalk. He first motioned for her to go, but then suddenly stopped in front of her and was hit. After the driver got out to check, he pulled out a knife and demanded her to drive him somewhere. When they got to the location, the victim was able to jump out and call for help.
Panic ensued this morning after false reports of an active shooter at the Williston Elementary School prompted a lockdown. But the police department says it was a false alarm. Investigators say a student reported seeing a suspicious person on campus, and that's when several agencies responded and the school was put on lockdown. Williston police say school and students are safe. The Alachua County Board of County Commissioners met today to hear updates to our local parks. The Parks Capital Project aims to provide proximity, access, inclusivity, and safety at all of our parks. Today, members reviewed changes we are already seeing and changes yet to come. From greener spaces, new restrooms, increased ADA access, to more designated pickleball courts, Parks Project Coordinator Ed Williams said the improvements are on the way.
And we've hydroseeded, and if you've been by there lately, grass is starting to grow. So we had germination last week, and it's starting to spring up and actually look like something, so I'm really proud of that.
The board also discussed updates to the former West End Golf Course, now en route to becoming a new community park. Improvements are underway to host the 2025 World Masters Athletic Championships starting March 23rd.
This morning, the Rosa Parks Quiet Courage Committee gathered alongside neighbors and local leaders to celebrate civil rights activist Rosa Parks' legacy as Black History Month begins this month. The ceremony honors the day Parks refused to offer her bus seat in Montgomery, Alabama, an action that sparked the Montgomery bus boycotts, led by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. Located at the RTS Rosa Parks transfer station, community members reflected on the impact and importance of her action 70 years ago. Newly appointed president of the committee and former Alachua County Mayor Bonnie K. Burgess hopes to utilize her role to continue the legacy and activism in Alachua County.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of controversy in our community and in our country at this time. So I'm excited to know what vital role that this committee will be able to play in coming up with ideas and making sure that starting today, moving forward, we will be a voice to be reckoned with in this community.
Community members hold this celebration every year, normally on December 1st, but this year's date was changed, so it happens during Black History Month.
Coming up at First at 5, it's Severe Weather Awareness Week, how you can stay safe from rip currents and marine hazards.
And China retaliates after the United States placed tariffs on all of their imported goods. Stay with us after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome back. A trade war with China is closer to reality as the two largest economies exchange tariffs. The question is, can the two sides find common ground before American consumers see rising prices? NBC's Gabe Gutierrez has the story from Washington.
The U.S. and China have just days to avoid a trade war, or Americans' pocketbooks could be hit hard. China announcing next week it'll impose a tariff on energy imports, as well as some U.S. products. That retaliation comes just minutes after President Trump's 10% tariff on all Chinese imports took effect.
The president made it very clear with the 10% tariff on China that he is not going to allow China to continue to source and distribute deadly fentanyl into our country. That was the reason for this tariff.
China imposing a 15% import tax on coal and liquefied natural gas, as well as a 10% tariff on crude oil, farm equipment, and various cars and trucks. And taking aim at electronics, announcing export controls on rare earths, elements essential to all high-tech products, infrared missiles, and electric car batteries.
That was just an opening salvo.
President Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping now expected to talk soon. Leaders of the world's largest economies both looking for leverage in a standoff that could have staggering global impacts. Meanwhile, the Trump administration's federal aid freeze and dismantling of the U.S. Agency for International Development causing confusion among those who help people in need and sparking protests.
It's not disrupting, it's destruction. And it's destruction that means that people will suffer across the country.
He promised it during his campaign. Tonight, Americans across the country and leaders around the world are feeling what the president calls his America First agenda firsthand.
While trying to cushion the blow for customers, state regulators approved proposals by Tampa Electric and Duke Energy Florida. They'll collect more than $1.1 billion to cover hurricane-related costs and replenish storm reserves. Customers of both utilities will start to see higher bills in March as the companies recover from 3 recent hurricanes. The Florida Public Service Commission decided to spread the company's costs across 18 months. Under the approved plan, customers are expected to pay an additional $20 a month. Public Service Commission Chairman Mike LaRosa says it was a difficult decision.
What's in the best interest of the customer, and although I hate to push off cost, we've got to consider how impactful this is and to the customer.
The utilities will recoup money they spent to prepare for hurricanes Debbie, Helene, and Milton last year and to restore power after the storms pass. Both will also collect money to replenish storm reserve funds and pay interest costs.
Shoppers plan to go all out this Valentine's Day season with a record $27.5 billion in spending expected, according to a new survey by the National Retail Federation. This is compared to last year's $25.8 billion and above the previous record of $27.4 billion in 2020. Consumers will spend an average of nearly $200 on Valentine's Day, a $3 increase from last year. More than half of Floridians plan to celebrate Valentine's Day this year. Many of those consumers will prioritize gifts for significant others, reaching a record $14.6 billion. The top 5 Valentine's Day gifts this year include candy at 56%, flowers and greeting cards at 40%, an evening out at 35%, and jewelry at 22%. Whatever you choose, don't wait until the last minute to get your gift. Of those not planning to celebrate the holiday, 28% will still mark the occasion in some way, including treating themselves to something special or planning an evening out with friends and family.
It is Severe Weather Awareness Week this week, and I will have what you can expect with severe weather and awareness on it, and our fog threats are continuing. I will have more after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV.
Welcome back as we go through the Severe Florida Weather Awareness Week. The Florida Division of Emergency Management dedicates this day to marine hazards and rip currents. Marine hazards can be dangerous and in some cases fatal. And in part to its nature of being hard to recognize, many tend to overlook them. UF meteorologist Megan Broski tells us how you can stay aware and stay safe despite this danger.
Check the flag before you go out. Definitely, if you want to be on the beach, that's one thing, but check the flag before entering the water because that can certainly tell you if there are hazards, that we're experiencing in the waterways. Always swim near a lifeguard.
She says these marine hazards can include rip currents, marine fog, longshore currents, and stiff waves. These hazards apply to not only swimmers, but boaters. Severe Weather Awareness Week continues tomorrow with a focus on thunderstorms and tornadoes.
Yeah, and I know it's getting warm out. If you're planning on heading to the beach or maybe your friends are heading to the beach, what should we know to stay safe?
Yeah, so rip currents are invisible, and again, as Megan said, check those flags, but it is important if you do get caught in a rip current to stay calm. That is the #1 thing. Just let it kind of take you out and then start to swim parallel to the shoreline. That is your best chance of survival. And again, check those flags. If you're not the strongest swimmer, it's important to be be aware of rip currents in the area. Now, tomorrow is Tornado Awareness Day and Thunderstorm Awareness Day, and there is a tornado drill tomorrow at around 10 a.m. This is across statewide, and this is just a tornado drill statewide. It's not, no tornadoes are in sight. It is important to know your safe space though. So we don't have basements here in Florida, so it is important to know where you can go. Interior most room, interior bathroom, and interior closet. If there is a tornado in your area, it's important to be in those interior walls. Now, you don't think tornadoes in Florida mix very well. However, we are number 8 annually per year in the last 20 years in tornadoes, 47 annually per year here in Florida. Most of those are from hurricanes such as Milton and Helene. However, it is still important to know what to do during a tornado when a tornado warning happens. Again, no tornadoes in the future, nothing going on live satellite and radar, and not much going on in the rest of the country. Up in Buffalo and New York, some snow going on. All that cold air is trapped up in here in the Midwest though. Everything south though is seeing some pretty warm temperatures, above average temperatures. And again, that jet stream is keeping everything up north and everything down south is being trapped by humidity and some warmer than average temperatures. Here in Florida, we're about 5 to 10 degrees warmer than average, and in the Mississippi River Valley, we're about 20 degrees warmer than average because all that moist air from the Gulf and the Atlantic is being trapped under there. A storm moving off past into the North Atlantic right now, and then another storm starts to develop as we head into next week. Part in the Rockies starts to move its way to the east, but it stays relatively north, bringing in a lot of icy conditions to Pennsylvania and into New York. And then again, another system starts to form as we head into next week, moving past the Rockies. This one is a little bit further south, so we could see some sprinkles as we head into next week, but no major cold fronts in the foreseeable future. Here in Campus Cam though, beautiful crystal clear blue skies out there. Not really a cloud in sight. That sunset is going to be beautiful. Just shy of 80 degrees, 79 right now. We didn't break 80 here, but some places did. 81 in Ocala and 81 down in the Villages. Still waiting to see that 80 here in Gainesville. Right now, temperatures not dropping that much because that sun is still out and is shining. 80 in Ocala and 79 up in Stark. Beautiful afternoon though. As we head into the hour by hour though, those temperatures are going to start to drop into the low 50s. We're getting some winds from the north, and that dense fog is going to be coming back. So if you're going out and about on your morning commute tomorrow, dense fog is possible. Not as much as today, but still dense fog. And again, 80s across the rest of the week, and then that 20% chance of rain on Monday. But look at that. It's feeling like spring. It feels like we're not going to see cold weather for a while.
Coming up in sports, Gators take sweet revenge over Tennessee after Saturday's loss by flipping 4-star defensive back Onis Konanbani to the orange and blue. And tonight, Gators hope to recover from Saturday's loss, their worst single-game shooting performance in program history against Vanderbilt. Double trouble, double doubles, and more after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome to sports. I'm Shelby Hotz. On the eve of National Signing Day, 4-star defensive back Onis Konanbani flipped his commitment from Tennessee to Florida. The 4-star recruit will round out Florida's 2025 class of defensive backs. Committed to Tennessee since August, his time volunteering is over. After an official visit during Florida's upset win against Ole Miss, the Brit joins 5-star corner Ben Hanks Jr., 4-star safety Lagonza Hayward, and 5-star safety Hilton Stubbs. Speaking of Tennessee, Gator basketball hopes to bounce back after a tough loss in Knoxville on Saturday and score against the Commodores. Alexis Tadros is live at the O-Dome ahead of tonight's matchup against Vanderbilt.
Thank you, Shelby. Fans are already lining up out here as the Gators are looking to rebound their loss to Tennessee. Florida dropped to number 6 in the AP poll and had their worst single-game shooting performance in program history. Thomas Hall has been great off the glass, grabbing double digits in rebounds in back-to-back games. Hall stressed the importance of focusing on adjustments heading into tonight's matchup.
Yeah, we're starting to do a lot more contact drills in practice, and just we all noticed that we're not finishing at the rate we were at the beginning of the season a little bit when it came to some of these bigger SEC guys. But Coach Hartman's doing a good job of we're using Ollie, trying to go through him to finish his really tall body, or even a lot of pad work too to get stronger down the post and make those layups.
We talked about it yesterday a lot, though. Is we just can't let it bleed into this next game against Vanderbilt. It's a really good team coming in, a team that's beat Kentucky, a team that's beat Tennessee. They've shown the ability to win some big games, and we just got to play well.
Hall said a win tonight would be just the confidence boost the team is looking for headed to #1 ranked Auburn this weekend. The Gators will look to take down their second AP #1 ranked team this season. But first, the Commodores. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. here in the O-Dome. For WUFT Sports, I'm Alexis Tadros.
Last night, Gator women's basketball chomped their 4-game losing streak against Arkansas. This was a standout game from freshman Mayara O'Neal, scoring a career high of 19 points, her first time as the Gator offensive leader. The Gators sunk 13 three-pointers, their highest all season, and marked a season-high 59.1 shooting percentage from behind the arc. Liv McGill and Rashea Kyle both put up double-doubles against the Razorbacks, feeding into the highest program score ever in SEC play, 108-78. From Gator greatness to the high school hardwood, high school basketball district tournament started last night with a slam dunk. In 4A District 5, the Eastside Rams charge on in the bracket after a win over Denellen. The Rams shot their way to an early lead in the first quarter, but the Tigers didn't go down without a fight. After a long game of back and forth, the Tigers tied it up at 45-45 in the fourth. With a few clutch layups, fourth-ranked Eastside held on to win 52-48. The Rams squad moves on to play top-ranked North Marion tomorrow. Let's take a look at some of the other district matchups that went down last night. In the 3A district, Interlochen took the dub against Baldwin, and back in the 4A in an epic matchup, 6th seed Crystal River pulled off a 1-point upset against 3rd seed Lake Weir. District tournaments continue throughout this week. Also, Gator women's tennis hits the road to face their first top 10 opponent of the year, ranked 7 Michigan.
Before we go, one last check on the weather.
Yeah, much warmer down here than it is up in Michigan. Fog is the possibility tomorrow morning. Not as dense as this morning, but still fog is going to be a hazard tomorrow. But look at that, 80s across the board. Beautiful weekend shaping up and a slight chance of rain on Monday morning.
Thanks for joining us. We're back here for another edition of First at 5.
For your North Central Florida news is always on at WUFT.org. Have a good night.